You want to keep your aim really precise, because obviously that's what this game is about. You don't want to be looking like FNS spraying like this. Shout out FNS, this video's for you, man. You've been asking for it, but really put it into your head, and like, I have to aim at head level. You don't want to commit to a spray, because spraying is bad in this game. That's not how you get kills. Have you seen FNS's stats? That's what happens when you spray. You're mostly using the Vandal or like a Guardian, or like for those of you that are noobs, you will use a Phantom, the trash weapon, but I guess you can kind of do this. And then this one was really good. I like this one, because it works on your flicking.
Flicking to heads is 10% of the game. A lot of people think it's a lot more than that, but it really isn't. The amount of micro-adjusting that you should be doing in this game is minimal at best. And if you're micro-adjusting massive amounts, then you're probably standing in the wrong position. Like, there's another issue than just your aim. Jeez, he's consistent as you gotta give him credit, man. 97% so far. This guy hasn't really missed much. Do you want free coaching? Well, now you can. My coaching is absolutely free at my Discord. Here you'll find an inclusive community full of awesome people wanting to improve just like you. Simply join, submit a VOD following our submission guidelines, and voila, you're in the queue. But how am I making this possible? Well, that's thanks to the generous Patreon supporters just like you. Tier 3 Patreon supporters get access to exclusive 10-mans, pro VOD reviews, and a private draw for coaching on top of increased odds for the main draw of coaching. What are you waiting for? Join up today.
Time for the aim routine drop. I have a playlist on AIMLABS that I used to play before I started playing competitively, because I would aim train because I was very bad at the game, like most of you. And you guys definitely need this, so these are my 5 scenarios that
Guy hasn't even unloaded his Guardian into our heads yet. He's already shooting shots at us. We're catching strays.
Like this one, the first one is tracking.
I love that he has tracking in his routine. You know what? It's something that I've watched a lot of pro players playing in the VCT level and all that stuff, and they have amazing tracking. They really do. Practicing tracing, it's definitely underrated.
I'll say these two helped me the most. I'll say this one and the other one were mostly the 2 good ones.
So he recommends tracing a ton.
And then I'll do.
How often do you hear that? You know what I mean? It's usually like, let's flick to these dots over and over again.
I know, it's really easy. You move your mouse left and right. It's not that difficult, but some of you struggle with it, so...
He's still shooting strays at us.
I had a pretty solid score here as well. It's not too bad.
This guy likes to flex, eh?
I don't know what else to say, but like... Sure, next scenario, let's go. And then this one was like, more for fun, but I still found it kind of useful.
I play this one in particular to calm my nerves when I'm under pressure. When there's multiple targets on my screen, or when I'm feeling like, you know, under pressure for any kind of reason scenario, because you have to move quickly and you have to be accurate.
This guy just
this guy makes this his job. He's a career-driven Valorant player. You know, you can clearly see it. He puts the time in. You guys gotta put the time in if you want to get better, man. You gotta put the time in. If you're going to compare Valorant aim to Overwatch aim, it's like light years difference. You know, you're looking at like almost 360 degrees of accuracy versus Valorant is like 90 degrees of accuracy. This is like the field of view. If you're outside that field of view, you're out of position, basically. That's a whole other problem. You want to be keeping everything on the x-axis. So if you're peeking someone, they should be on one straight line with their head level. If you're going y-axis at any point in time, you're probably out of position again. There's other issues that you can be dealing with. Whereas in Overwatch, people are flying all over the place, right? So you have to be catching them out of the air, all this stuff, making sure that you're in a good position to be able to keep them away from behind you, but still be able to be competent enough to catch someone behind you if you needed to.
Usually, I'll just hop in the range, 5-10 minutes, kind of do like this, like that headshot scenario I was talking about. You know, with the sheriff, just put my crosshair somewhere and then adjust for the headshot.
Okay, all right, listen. Best aimer in the world, right? You should train flicks. I'm not saying don't, but I don't think you should put so much time into it. I never trained flicks, near never, when I was younger and I was competing. And the reason why is that it's inconsistent. I would rather be training my positioning and how I'm peaking angles and getting really good at that, right? And then the small micro adjustments, honestly, like, were this much. Like, he's flicking from like knee height all the way to head. Flicking is inconsistent. Our hands, our body inconsistent. If you can aim with the WASD, way more consistent. In fact, if you watch how he plays in VCT, there's rarely flicking. He is running into people, crosshair placement perfect, stopping at the time that he needs to stop, and one tapping in the face. He's very clean. I'm not saying don't do it, but I'm just saying you might want to invest more time in other stuff. You got to remember that
in a game, like,
he's perfected everything else in his game, so now it's like he's fine-tuning things, right? That's another piece. There's other things you probably need to focus on before you're thinking about flicking everything. Flicking is like the last, it's like the cherry on top of the whole cake.
Aiming is not the only thing about it. It's definitely a lot of crosshair placement, but
there you go. See?
It doesn't have to be like 30 minutes, but like if you feel like you've had enough warm-up, or like, you know, your arm starts to get tired before 30 minutes, then you don't have to do it anymore.
Yeah, so here's the thing, right? Like, everyone's like, oh, you gotta practice forever, but no, as you get better at things, you naturally just do a warm-up, and a warm-up can require you to do a certain amount of time. Like, if I'm doing a workout, for example, I'm not gonna sit there stretching for 30 minutes if I don't need to. If I'm fully mobile and I'm ready to go, then I'm gonna go and stabilize myself and go into a set. No different here, right? There's a difference between a training day and a warm-up day. Like, if you're warming up for something versus training for something, you definitely, I think you still need to put time in days where you schedule like a 30-minute actual training regimen for your aim, for sure. And it's probably more than just one day. It's going to be a few more days. The general warm-up, you just do it for when you feel you're good. I've been advising students for a while. It's like, they're like, oh, what's the best warm-up routine? It's like, whatever is making you ready. That's what it is. If you do a warm-up and you're like, I just cannot get ready today, don't queue. But if you're good to go, like, then you're good to go. Get in there. When I say aim train versus warming up, I usually had days where I would invest time to just working on mechanics. I'm literally training myself, so I get to a point of fatigue where it might not be a good idea for me to queue comp or ranked. If I relate this to training in real life, if I'm going to work out and do a workout for like 2 hours and lift really, really heavy, now I'm exhausted, right? My central nervous system's down, everything. And then I say to myself, okay, now what I'm going to do is 5 hours later, I'm going to go for a PR on my bench press, even though I like benched and did upper body the whole day. It's not going to go well for you, right? You're exhausted. So you need to rest, you need to relax, reset yourself, and then you can, you know, go for that. And it usually takes a good amount of time to do that. Now, obviously, it's not as intense when you're aim training, but it can be very taxing on the wrist. It can be very taxing on the arm. I would dedicate days where I would actually train mechanics, and then dedicate days where I'm actually playing the game. So I'm warming up to get into a game, and my warm-up was, do I feel good and ready to perform? If the answer is yes, then I go for it. If the answer is no, I'll warm up a bit more. If after about 10 to 15 minutes I say, you know what, the warm-ups aren't really going well for me, I don't think I'm in a spot where I should queue today. Instead of that, I will go and I'll VOD review. If the benefit was there for me to play ranked just because, then I'll play it. Because at the end of the day, I don't really care about my rank, but it's more so for me like, is this rank game going to carry me further away from my goal of getting better? Or is it going to benefit me? Am I fully engaged? If I'm ready to go to actually invest, you know, productive time into this game right now? If not, maybe I need to attack this day from a different angle. Maybe I need to review some gameplay, or maybe I need to go into a custom map and practice peeking certain things and just like work on that so I make the day productive.